The day I lost everything. The sky was a brilliant, unforgiving blue. I stood in front of the charred skeleton of my workshop, the smell of burnt wood and shattered dreams clinging to the air. The fire had taken it all: my tools, my half-finished sculptures, my order book. Everything I had spent a decade building was gone, turned to ash. A reporter shoved a microphone in my face, asking how I felt. I couldn't speak. All I could think about was one word, a word that had been my quiet mantra for years: enough. My name is Leo, and I was a woodworker. It wasn't just a job, it was who I was. I could feel the story in a piece of timber before I even made the first cut. My hands, calloused and stained, knew the language of oak, pine, and cherry. I started my business from a dusty corner of my father's garage, with his old, rusty tools and a fierce desire to create something beautiful. People liked my work. Orders trickled in, then flowed. Soon, I had my own little workshop, a cozy space filled with the scent of sawdust and varnish. My wife, Clara, was my biggest supporter. "You're an artist, Leo," she'd say, her eyes shining. "One day, your work will be in galleries all over the country." I'd just smile and shake my head. Galleries felt like a world away. I was happy with my little shop, with the steady stream of local customers who appreciated my craft. We weren't rich, but we managed. We had a small house, a reliable car, and food on the table. We had enough. That word, enough, became my shield. When a friend suggested I expand, maybe hire an apprentice or open a second location, I'd say, "Why? We have enough." When Clara found an application for a prestigious artisan fair in the city, I'd push it aside. "It's too much work, too much risk. What we have is good enough." I saw it as being content, as being grateful. I didn't see it as a cage I was building around myself, bar by bar. I was comfortable. I had a rhythm. Wake up, kiss Clara, go to the shop, create, come home. It was a good life. It was enough. The problem with enough is that it's a stationary word in a world that never stops moving. The market shifted. Big box stores started selling mass-produced furniture that mimicked handcrafted styles for a fraction of the price. My loyal customers grew older, and the younger generation wanted things cheaper and faster. My orders started to dwindle. I told myself it was just a slow season. But the slow season stretched from 1 month to 6. The stack of bills on our kitchen table grew taller. One night, Clara sat down with me, her face etched with worry. "Leo, maybe it's time to think about that online store we talked about. Or that fair in the city. We need to do something." I felt a familiar resistance tighten in my chest. "It's a lot of money to set up, Clara. What if it doesn't work? We're scraping by, but we're managing. It's enough for now." The look in her eyes was one I'd never seen before. Not anger, but a deep, aching disappointment. "Is it, Leo?" she asked quietly. "Is just scraping by really enough for you? For us?" Her question haunted me. For the first time, I felt a crack in my comfortable world. Was I being content, or was I being a coward? Was I protecting my family, or was I holding us back because I was afraid to fail? I didn't have an answer. I just knew that the word that once brought me comfort now felt like a stone in my gut. I decided she was right. I had to try. I stayed up late that night, drafting plans for an online shop, researching photographers, and finally filling out the application for that artisan fair. For the first time in years, I felt a spark of the old ambition, the old fire. It felt terrifying and exhilarating all at once. The next morning, I woke up to sirens. The fire started from a faulty wire in the old building next door. It spread so fast. There was nothing anyone could do. As I stood there, watching the last 10 years of my life go up in smoke, the word enough echoed in my head with brutal irony. I had waited until I had nothing left. I had been so afraid of losing what I had that I ended up losing it all anyway. My foundation of enough hadn't been a foundation at all. It was a floorboard, and it had just been ripped out from under me. In the weeks that followed, I was adrift. The insurance payout was a pittance, barely enough to cover our debts. The smell of smoke seemed to have seeped into my skin. I stopped talking, stopped eating. I'd just sit on the sofa, staring at nothing. Clara tried to reach me, but I was in a place she couldn't get to. The man who could turn a block of wood into a piece of art couldn't figure out how to piece his own life back together. The turning point came one rainy afternoon. Clara came home and dropped a heavy canvas bag at my feet. I looked inside. It was full of woodworking tools. Not new, shiny ones, but old, worn ones. A hand plane with a smooth, dark handle. A set of chisels with nicks in the steel. Where did you get these? I mumbled. She knelt in front of me. I asked around, she said softly. Mr. Henderson from down the street, your old customer. Sarah, who you made the cradle for. They all chipped in. They said it wasn't much, but it was a start. I pulled out a small, beautifully worn mallet. I recognized it instantly. It was my father's. I thought it had been lost in the fire. Your dad gave it to me years ago, Clara said, her voice thick with emotion. He said you might need it one day, to build something new. Tears streamed down my face, the first I'd shed since the fire. I wasn't just holding a tool. I was holding faith. I was holding community. I was holding a second chance. In that moment, I understood. Enough wasn't about having a certain amount of things. It was the enemy of growth, the enemy of possibility. My fear of losing my enough had kept me from ever striving for more. Not more money or more things, but more life, more passion, more connection. I didn't rebuild my old workshop. Instead, I cleaned out the garage, the very place where it all began. With those borrowed tools and my father's mallet, I started over. But this time, something was different. The fear was gone, replaced by a quiet determination. I wasn't just making furniture anymore. I was rebuilding myself. My first project was a simple, small box for Clara, made from a piece of salvaged oak. As I carved it, I poured all my regret, my gratitude, and my newfound hope into the wood. I launched the online store. I went to that artisan fair in the city. I taught a woodworking class at the local community center. I started connecting with people again, not just as a craftsman, but as a person who had lost everything and was finding his way back. My work had a new depth, a new story to tell. It spoke of resilience, of renewal, and people listened. Today, my business is bigger than it ever was, but that's not what matters. What matters is that I'm no longer living inside a cage of my own making. I learned that the most dangerous word in the world isn't failure or no. It's enough. It's the word that tells you to stop dreaming, to stop striving, to stop growing. It convinces you that the safety of the shore is better than the vast, unknown ocean of your potential. But a ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are built for. Life isn't about reaching a point and stopping. It's about the journey, the growth, the constant becoming. It's about having the courage to want more, not more stuff, but more from yourself. It's about honoring the spark inside you and never, ever letting it be extinguished by the quiet, comfortable lie of enough.